Welcome to Charity Therapy, the podcast where we explore the ups and downs of the nonprofit sector and answer your burning questions. I'm your host, Jess Birkin, owner of Birkin Law Office, and I'm excited you're here. Imagine hanging out with me and my super smart, funny nonprofit expert pals. You get to ask them anything about your nitty-gritty nonprofit life and get their wisdom for free. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just strapping on your nonprofit boots, we're here to share stories and remind you you're not alone on this journey. So get ready to join the conversation and bring me the tough questions. I ain't scared. Ready to rock? Let's dive in. Hey. Welcome to Charity Therapy. It's me, Jess, with Megan. We're here again to talk about nonprofits, which you love. So let's do it. Hi, Megan.
Or you hate. I don't know. We don't know how you feel about nonprofits.
Okay, that's true. Would you listen to this whole podcast if you really hated nonprofits?
Maybe there's like a spite element to it, you know? Like, because the questions are sometimes kind of juicy, you know? Maybe it's like some Schadenfreude happening.
I do love me a dramatic question. I do.
Right? We need some juice. Keep
nonprofit true crime. It should be another podcast we do.
There you go. We're just going to try to
the nonprofit scandals.
Bring nonprofits into like every like genre of podcasts, you know? It's like suddenly we're topping the true crime podcast charts with the nonprofit stuff.
God, I feel like it would be so boring.
Oh, it'd be so boring.
We need to find a way to make it exciting.
We don't have like an Anna Delvey type, like real drama, like scam story.
We'd have to combine the nonprofit true crime with like mukbang eating or something. Like, I don't even know.
That doesn't sound like the most well attuned to audio content, but like maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just going off what my kid watches. There's true crime mukbang stuff out there. And if you don't know what that is, it's like people eating.
Go talk to a 15-year-old. They can tell you. I don't know.
Yeah. Ask your local teenager about mukbang content. Anyway.
Well, that's not what we're here for. I promise you don't have to listen to us eating or anything
there
like that.
There will not be any intentional chewing sounds.
No sounds.
Fast food reviews.
Very important.
What's up? What are we doing, Megan?
Yeah,
what's actually happening?
Let's talk about it. So we talk with lots of people who are involved with like both a nonprofit and a for-profit that have like some overlap. Like that happens all the time. And I know that like when I am talking to someone who's calling us to potentially become a client, that's always something that I will like flag internally and bring up to you about a potential client, because I know that's often something that you want to like talk to them about.
For sure.
So just like, why is that? Like, what is the potential gray area messiness of the like nonprofit and for-profit?
Why does that make your spidey sense go off on a call?
Why are your like hairs on your arms rising? Yeah.
I mean, okay, so how to best sum up? There are a lot of rules around nonprofits, and there are a lot of rules around insider dealing and like scams and fraud. And that's one of the like hot things the IRS is concerned about, is people using nonprofits as a tax dodge. And so like anytime there's a for-profit lined up with a nonprofit, that's just like oh, got to be on red alert for, is this a scam? Are we doing anything that's like wrong? It would take too long to get into all of the various rules and regulations around it, but there's a lot because human beings have tried to defraud the government out of tax money since it was invented. So yeah,
it's just one of those areas you see it and you're like, noted. Like, let's make sure that we're doing things right here and that there is no intentional or accidental like
feeding our future.
Behavior.
Great example. For-profit benefiting from the nonprofit, funneling its money to the for-profits to the tune of $250 million.
Yep.
So there you go.
There you go. The classic example of everything that has to do with nonprofit fraud lately. So anyways, this is not about feeding our future. So let's get into our listener question today. Person writes in and says, I work for a business that sells trainings and products to its customers. The owner of the business recently started a nonprofit whose mission is to buy the business's trainings and products and provide them to the government and local police organizations. The business owner keeps promoting the company by saying that a, quote, organization has chosen to pay for our services and donate them. But she keeps leaving out the part about it being her organization that is doing that. If someone's nonprofit buys services from their own for-profit company, is that allowed? It feels unethical to me, but I just don't really know much about nonprofits.
Red flag. Red flag.
Red
Immediate
flag.
red flag. Penalty flag on the field. What is a football reference I can make? That
Red card?
is, yeah, red card. You're kicked out of the game. That's more of a soccer.
I don't know. A different kind of football.
Different football.
I can pretend like I was intentional there.
You're good. You're good. So my first question is, where's the nonprofit getting the money to buy all of her company's stuff and turn around and give it away? That's, to me, the fascinating part of this is like, who's making the donation? And like, how's that working? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
like, I don't
doesn't
understand.
Make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense because and I love that it's like governments and police organizations are involved in this. That's a great look. That's a real good look for our municipal and law enforcement agencies. I'm like, are they making a donation to the nonprofit? And on the nonprofit side, it looks like fee for service, because where's the money coming from? That's my main, like, I can't get past it. You were selling things to a customer and now you're giving things to the customer, but who's paying for it? Because the nonprofit doesn't just, as we all know, money doesn't just fall out of the sky because you started a nonprofit. So I'm just wondering if there really is anything being given away, or if it's truly that the government agencies are doing a fee for service, like paying for services from a nonprofit, and then the nonprofit is turning around and purchasing stuff from the business. And why? I still don't understand.
And I mean, we've talked about this on other episodes, but having multiple entities in the mix is complicated because, especially if you have a nonprofit and a for-profit, there are different rules that apply to those. And so it's sort of like when it literally doesn't make sense in this way, it's also, for me, brings up the question of just like, do you know what you're doing? Like, does it make sense? Like,
I think
at
the
all?
answer
Like,
is
are we
no.
following the rules? Like, what's going on?
Okay, wait, let me just get straight to the person's actual question. If a nonprofit, because they say someone's nonprofit, but we all know no one owns a nonprofit. So just because this lady started the nonprofit doesn't mean it belongs to her. If a nonprofit purchases stuff from their own for-profit entity, is that allowed? It depends, is the lawyer answer. But what they're describing is a no-no, right? So like, if I wrote a book and I think, wouldn't it be great if I started a nonprofit and the nonprofit buys the book from me and then gives it away to all of the teachers for the children? That purchase of my business is lining my pockets. So ostensibly, this lady is on the board or working for the nonprofit. She's considered an insider. She is considered someone who has special status at the organization. And any business deals we do with a company that she owns is going to be a problem. It's going to require talking to a lawyer and stepping through 100 hoops to make it legal. So, like, is it allowed? Well, sometimes it could be allowed. I think it's boring to get into all of those details, so I'm not going to talk about that. Does this seem shady AF? Yes, it does. Because basically this lady is like, great, the nonprofit is going to buy all of my services. I'm going to get rich because I own the company that sells the services. And the thing that I don't get, somebody somewhere is taking a deduction. Like somebody somewhere is donating money to the nonprofit. So the nonprofit should not be purchasing stuff, should not be controlled by this lady and then buy stuff from this lady. That is a no-go. That's just a no-go without a whole bunch of like special circumstances and loopholes and things being worked exactly the right way. But I still just don't understand what the benefit here is. Because if she was selling the services anyway, her business is doing well. She's selling the same amount of stuff to a customer. So the disconnect to me is like, is she selling more of it because it's going through the nonprofit? And if so, what are we doing here? Like we've talked in the past about philanthropists making you start a nonprofit. Is this some sort of goofy thing where like government and police agencies are like, we will only purchase your services if you're a nonprofit? So she's trying to like wash that money through the nonprofit, but not give up her business. I don't get it. It is not ethical. It is probably not allowed. It's probably private inurement. It's probably private benefit. There's probably an excess benefit transaction. There's probably excise tax. She's probably going to get in big trouble with the IRS if they were to ever find out about it. But I just don't understand why we're doing it.
Well, and this is one of those situations where I feel like it's good to remember that, first of all, people don't always intentionally break the rules with the IRS, right? Like oftentimes it is I think what I'm doing feels fine to me, and I just don't know that there's a rule against this, But that also, not everyone who breaks the rules is doing it in a smart way.
No.
Not everyone who's like, even if she is like trying to scam something, from these facts, it doesn't sound the most successful. And even if she's not trying to, like, this is scammy, Like, not everyone
doesn't look good.
Not everyone's a good scammer,
I'm just like, I don't know why you need the nonprofit in the middle.
Yeah.
Because, yes, our foundation's jerks and being like, well, they give to a nonprofit. You have to be a 501c3. You should change your entire life to make us happy. Fine. But government and law enforcement agencies buy stuff from taxable entities all the time. So we don't know what they're selling. We don't know what the trainings are. We don't know what the products are. But if you could sell to those agencies anyway, why not just do that?
Yeah. This to me feels like the, example of like, oh, this business owner's dad wants to like infuse a bunch of money into this company to help the law enforcement agencies or something, but it would affect the business's taxes to do that. And it's like not a good look. So, or it's not going to be beneficial to them down the road. So it's like, oh, we'll just throw it through the nonprofit or like some sort of like the money's coming from somewhere.
Getting the revenue anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I don't get it because breaching client confidences. I have definitely seen circumstances where somebody's like, oh, my lovely child, you would like to start a nonprofit and you are a trust baby. And so I would like to support you with all of my millions. And then they like want to start a nonprofit and pay their child a salary by making a tax deductible donation to the nonprofit so that it can pay young person a salary. Like that's tax fraud. That's like, I was going to give you $60K anyway, because you're my kid and I'm loaded. But wouldn't it be great if I could just wash it through this tax exempt entity? But here, I just wish we had more info about like, where is the nonprofit getting the money to purchase stuff from the business? Because either the governments and police agencies are paying for the trainings and it's like this step transaction thing happening, or somebody wants to take a deduction and fund free trainings, which feels wrong. I don't know. It feels like this is like winning the Darwin Awards for dumbest way to get a tax audit problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like nothing's being accomplished. Like all the rules are being broken. Penalties are about to be issued. But for what?
She thinks she's playing chess, but she's really playing checkers. Like it is not.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like I said, it's not that hard to break some rules when you don't really know what's going on. It's just usually we hear about these situations where there's some creative like win-win, right? Where it's like, no, the person gets the training that they weren't willing to pay for and I still get paid for it and everything is a win-win. And like those like sort of creative win-wins in the nonprofit world, especially with the nonprofit and for-profit, are often the signal of like, I don't know about this. But this one just doesn't really make sense. I'm like, do we have a win-win? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure we do. I don't know. I've even seen like, oh, I have like a tree farm and I will get schools to purchase trees for planting for their little kiddos. And then the nonprofit will buy the trees from me. And it's like, why? Like,
Yeah.
Why are you going to administer this nonprofit? The schools would just buy the trees from you. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Just,
I don't know. What even would be the takeaways, Megan?
I mean, I feel like there's a couple. First, it's that like when you do have this sort of like major overlap in the Venn diagram of a nonprofit and a for-profit, like it is an area that can be rife with scams. You know, like it doesn't have to be. There are ways to do it right, but it can lead to some unethical transactions between the two entities. And that's the reason why the IRS is like, what's going on with that? You know, so things like private benefit, private inurement, like you mentioned, like that can be a problem when you are dealing with multiple entities like this. And then the other thing is that like, this is sort of a dumb one, but nonprofits are hard.
Yes.
Even if you're trying to scam, it's not easy. You know, like this stuff is complicated and you need to know what you're doing before you get into it. I'm not advocating for scammers to be smarter at their scams, but like
I thought you were, Megan.
Right? That's exactly what this podcast stands for, Jess. But yeah, like it is complicated no matter which way you slice it. So if someone is talking about starting a nonprofit as a easy way to accomplish a win-win, or even just like a good like new stream of revenue or something for their, you know, business efforts, even if you're trying to do it all right, or even if you don't care about the rules, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
Start a nonprofit is not going to be your easy answer, no matter what.
That's so true. That's so true. Perfectly said. I have nothing to add.
There we go. Let's cut it. Let's cut the cord on this episode, Jess.
All right. Let's cut the cord.
I don't like that. I don't like that metaphor. I'm sorry. I take it back.
Let's just cut these people off from their stupid scam that is pointless and hurting them.
Right.
If y'all can hear this wherever you are, stop. Tell your friend. Tell your friend to stop.
Get out.
Meanwhile, tell a friend about our podcast, would ya? Tell a friend, share this episode, rate, subscribe, push all the buttons, all the things. If you have a story or a friend who's doing something that seems crazy, please send us a note online. We want to hear about your crazy friend and their crazy scheme, and we will tell them if it's worth doing or not. Find us online at charitytherapy.show. Peace out, home skillets. Bye-bye.